If I had to pinpoint the exact moment my world started to slip out from under me, it was probably the day I found a pair of men's running shoes under our bed. Size 11, Nike, practically new. Only problem? I wear a size 9, and I've been loyal to Adidas since college. Now, I'm not a man prone to suspicion. I don't track my wife's texts, I don't hover over her social media, and I sure as heck don't snoop around the house like a B-movie detective. But those shoes? They squeaked louder than a guilty conscience on a hardwood floor. "Hey, babe," I called out casually like I wasn't holding the Trojan horse of athletic footwear. "You get me a new pair of shoes?" From the kitchen, her voice floated back, smooth as butter and just as greasy. "What? No. Maybe they're yours from a while ago." Right. I've never owned anything with that much arch support or audacity. My name's Ellis. 38. Middle school science teacher. Been married to Jenna for 12 years. We've got a golden retriever named Spud and a mortgage that could strangle an ox. We were the type of couple people pointed to and said, "Now there's stability." Turns out, we were more like one of those dollar store snow globes, looks fine until you shake it. I didn't bring up the shoes again. Not then. Not because I believed her, because I wanted to see what else would float to the surface if I stopped stirring the water. That night at dinner, she was all smiles and sweet potatoes. "How was class today?" she asked, spooning green beans onto my plate. "Explosive," I said, not looking up. "We built vinegar bombs." She laughed. "I hope nobody lost an eyebrow." "Nah, but someone might be losing a husband." She blinked. Just once. And then she kept chewing. I knew. She knew I knew. But we weren't ready to say it out loud yet. That's the thing about marriages built on betrayal. Everyone learns how to smile through the smoke. The thing about being a science teacher is you spend a lot of time explaining cause and effect. Mix vinegar and baking soda? You get foam. Shake a bottle of soda and twist the cap? Explosion. Bring another man's sneakers into a faithful man's home? Consequences. It was the week of our 12th anniversary. I'd been planning something quiet, just a dinner at the Italian place downtown where we first met. Jenna said she had to work late that night. I said nothing. I also didn't cancel the reservation. Instead, I stopped by the restaurant and slipped the hostess a folded card. "She'll come in with someone else," I said. "Just hand her this when she sits down." She nodded, clearly intrigued, but too polite to ask. "You sure?" "Trust me," I said. "She'll know it's from me." It wasn't a romantic card. It didn't have hearts or roses or anything Hallmark would approve. Just a plain white card with one line scribbled inside. "When the mask falls, make sure you're wearing something under it." Later that evening, Jenna texted me. "Dinner got canceled. I'll just grab something on the way home." "Uh-huh." I replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Her favorite way to say absolutely nothing. I waited in my car, parked just far enough from the restaurant's entrance to stay out of sight. I didn't need to follow her. I just needed confirmation. Sure enough, about 7:42 p.m., I saw her walk out with a man in tow. He looked like the shoes under our bed, bigger, shinier, and completely out of place in my life. He said something, she laughed, and they shared that casual intimacy of people who think they've earned a secret. That's the thing about affairs, they're like theater. Everyone's performing, hoping the curtain never drops. The next morning, she made eggs. "Sleep okay?" she asked. "Like a baby," I said, smiling into my coffee. Woke up every 2 hours crying. She didn't even flinch. I was playing the long game now. Not for forgiveness, and not for reconciliation. No, I wasn't planning to yell or cry or beg. I was planning to win. I didn't confront her. Not after the shoes. Not after the card. Not even after watching her walk out of a restaurant with a man who clearly didn't understand the difference between borrowed time and stolen time. See, the thing about confrontation? It gives the other person a chance to defend themselves. To lie. To spin. To weep and say they were confused, lost, or just needed to feel alive. Nah, I wasn't interested in her poetry. I wanted receipts. So I started collecting them. You learn a lot about a person by what they don't delete. Jenna was careless with her passwords. Probably thought I was too busy grading quizzes to ever peek into her digital world. Turns out, her Facebook messages were a treasure chest of emotional garbage. There were pictures, nothing graphic, but graphic enough. Inside jokes. Little heart emojis. One message said, "You make me feel seen." I almost laughed. I had been seeing her every day for 12 years, and suddenly this dollar store Casanova was the one with the flashlight? But here's what really got me. A shared note in the cloud, titled Future Apartment Ideas. Paint colors. Furniture links. A Pinterest board full of minimalist chic and maximum betrayal. I read through it like I was studying for a test I never signed up for. Now I knew two things. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning to leave. That gave me an edge. Because if she was leaving, I could make her departure a memory she'd taste for the rest of her life. "You seem quiet lately," Jenna said one night, casually folding laundry like she wasn't building a life behind my back. "Just tired," I said. "Middle schoolers are exhausting." Maybe we should take a trip. Recharge." I smiled. "Let's definitely take a trip." Inside, I was already packing hers. Carefully, quietly, one drawer at a time. But not before I set the final stage. This wasn't just going to end. It was going to unravel. You ever notice how silence gets louder when you're hiding something? That's what our house felt like now. An echo chamber of things unsaid. Every clink of the spoon in her coffee cup, every creak of a floorboard under her heels, every late-night text buzz from her phone she thought I didn't hear. It all spoke louder than any confession ever could. And me? I was smiling. Like the polite husband. Like a man who didn't just download every screenshot from her cloud folder and print them in triplicate. The rattle in the walls had started. And she couldn't hear it yet. The first move wasn't big. Just a little adjustment to our joint account. Nothing drastic. Just a new savings account in my name only, seeded with a few thousand. Then came the subtle rerouting. My paycheck, our auto deposits, even the coffee subscription Jenna always joked she couldn't live without. I let it go unpaid. Caffeine withdrawal makes people cranky. Distracted. Perfect. I didn't want her broke. I wanted her blind. She was still playing house. Still texting me, "Love you," like her GPS wasn't routing her to someone else's apartment every Thursday night. I nodded along like it wasn't happening. Even packed her lunch a few days. Turkey, mustard, and a side of irony. It was Thursday when I made my favorite move. I took a sick day from work. Let her think I was still grading papers. Instead, I parked 2 blocks from her boyfriend's condo. The weather was nice. Just cool enough to wear a hoodie. Just cloudy enough to go unnoticed. At 6:02 p.m., she pulled in, wearing the dress she told me she didn't feel confident in anymore. It hugged her hips like a lie made of silk. She didn't knock. Just walked right in. That was when I took the photo. Nothing dramatic. No angles. No filters. Just one shot of her stepping into a man's home like it was hers. Proof. Time-stamped and geolocated. For the record, back home, I printed the photo and placed it gently into a manila envelope. Then I added the screenshots, every message, every love note, every fantasy apartment plan. I sealed it like a time capsule from a life that never really existed. On the front of the envelope, I wrote one word in black marker. Truth. Then I placed it in our safety deposit box at the bank. Not at a lawyer's. Not yet. That would have made it real. I wasn't quite ready for real. That night, she kissed my cheek. "You okay?" she asked. "Of course," I said. "Long day. Want to watch something?" "Sure." We sat on the couch. Watched some true crime series where the husband is the villain. Standard Thursday night entertainment. The episode ended with the wife discovering her husband's dark secret in a crawl space under the garage. Jenna chuckled. Imagine living with someone for years and never realizing who they really are. I sipped my drink. "Yeah," I said. "Imagine." She didn't notice my glass was water. Hers wasn't. Around 2 a.m., I woke up and looked over at her. She was dreaming. I could tell because she had that soft half-smile people get when they forget the world is watching. It made me feel sorry for her, in a strange way. The same way you feel sorry for a raccoon caught in your attic. More nuisance than enemy. Just following its instincts. I got out of bed and stood at the window. The moonlight hit the backyard just right. Our garden looked peaceful. Deceptively neat. There was a time I'd have done anything for her. Bought her roses when we fought. Took days off work just to drive to that overpriced bakery she liked across town. I even built that damn pergola in the backyard with my own 2 hands, sweat in my eyes and splinters in my thumbs, just because she said she wanted a space that felt like ours. Now, the only thing growing in that garden was resentment. And maybe, just maybe, a plan. The next morning, I started planting seeds. "Babe," I said casually over eggs and toast. "What's your schedule like next weekend?" "Not sure yet," she said, scrolling through her phone. "I might have to work Saturday." I nodded. "Cool. I was thinking of a little getaway. Just us." That got her attention. She looked up, blinking like I'd just spoken Latin. "Really? Like, a trip?" Yeah, cabin in the woods kind of thing. Disconnect, breathe. You and me. She smiled, hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, that sounds really nice. She didn't ask why, didn't ask where, just nodded. Maybe she thought it was guilt. Maybe she thought I was trying to win her back. Either way, she didn't see the trap being built under her feet. The trip was set. 3 weeks away. Plenty of time to let her dig her own grave a little deeper. I wasn't rushing anything. Vengeance, like sourdough, needs time to rise. In the meantime, I let her enjoy her affair. Gave her space. Cooked her dinners. Told her I loved her. I even picked her up from yoga class one night. She looked tired but satisfied. Probably not from yoga. You're being sweet lately, she said, leaning her head on my shoulder. I kissed her forehead. Just trying to be the husband you deserve. She didn't hear the weight behind that sentence. The irony creaking underneath it. But she would. Oh, she would. 3 weeks passed like a dream. The kind where you're walking through your own house, but the furniture is wrong and every mirror is cracked. Jenna was glowing more than usual. Funny how adultery has a way of moisturizing the skin. I didn't say anything about her new perfume, or the subtle tan lines on her hips, or how her phone was suddenly always face down when she set it on the kitchen counter. I let it all slide, because it needed to slide, right into place. Still good for the cabin this weekend? I asked that Friday morning. She beamed. Absolutely. I can't wait. Neither could I. The drive up was 3 hours of curated playlist and carefully engineered small talk. I asked her about work. She lied. She asked me about school. I lied. We passed an old couple driving a Winnebago, and she sighed. Wouldn't that be a nice way to spend retirement? I smiled. If we make it that far. She laughed. She thought I was being charming. I was being honest. The cabin was perched in the foothills, nestled under tall pines and shaded by years of quiet. It belonged to a friend of mine from college, now living abroad, happy to let me use the place. I'd visited it once before, years ago, back when Jenna still looked at me like I was her lighthouse. Now, she barely looked up from her phone. I carried our bags inside and handed her the keys. You pick the bedroom, I said. Make it yours. She kissed my cheek and disappeared down the hall. I stood in the living room, listening to the creaks of floorboards as she explored. Then I set my plan in motion. Dinner that night was grilled steak and roasted vegetables, a bottle of wine between us. I poured hers a little heavier. She didn't notice. Or if she did, she didn't care. You've been so calm lately, she said, swirling her glass. It's like, peaceful. Feels good, doesn't it? I replied. She nodded. I guess I just expected more. Conflict. Conflict doesn't solve anything, I said, slicing into the steak. But clarity? Clarity's powerful. She didn't ask what I meant. She was too busy enjoying the peace. That's what guilt does. It clings to comfort like a drunk to a bar stool. We played cards by the fireplace after dinner. She cheated once. I let her. Around midnight, I tucked her into bed, kissed her forehead, and said I was staying up to read. She didn't question it. She was asleep within minutes. That's when I got to work. The back of the cabin had a storage shed. Inside, I found the items I'd placed weeks ago during a fishing trip she thought was with my cousin. One sealed envelope, one voice recorder, one flash drive, one small burner phone, all tucked inside a weatherproof box. I brought the box back inside and set it on the table next to my jacket. Then I took a long, slow walk around the cabin. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't even angry anymore. Just ready. When I returned, I slid the voice recorder into my pocket, grabbed the burner phone, and placed it in the guest room. The flash drive I uploaded to a cloud folder under a fake Gmail account. I copied the link, attached it to a draft email titled, "In Case of Fire," and saved it. Then I walked into the bedroom and stared at her. She looked peaceful, almost innocent, but she wasn't. Saturday was perfect. We hiked, we laughed, we drank. She took photos of the lake and posted them with the caption, "Unplugging with my forever." I almost choked on my sandwich. In the evening, I lit a fire while she curled up with a book. I watched the flames dance and wondered if she ever imagined this version of me. The one who knew. The one who could wait. You okay? She asked, sipping hot chocolate. Never better, I said. I meant it. She reached for my hand. I let her hold it. Because endings don't always come with explosions. Sometimes they arrive with cocoa and a fireplace. Sunday morning, I left her a note. Gone to get more firewood. Back in 15. She was still in bed when I slipped out. I drove to the local diner, ordered coffee, and waited. At exactly 9:45 a.m., The burner phone buzzed. Right on schedule. She was calling. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Back at the cabin, she'd find it ringing on the nightstand, next to the envelope with her name on it. Inside, printed messages, photos, receipts, a screenshot of her future apartment ideas folder. I even left a copy of the restaurant photo, her walking into her lover's condo. And one more thing. A handwritten note. I know everything. And I'll let you have this weekend anyway. So when you remember the laughs, the kisses, the fake peace. Remember this, too. I was already gone. I drove away. I didn't speed. I didn't cry. My lawyer would serve her by Tuesday. As for her boyfriend, well, let's just say he'd be seeing a different kind of letter in his mailbox soon. One from his employer. Anonymous tip, detailed complaint, with attachments. It's amazing what people will believe when the proof is printed. And me? I went home, took a shower, changed the sheets, poured myself a drink. I wasn't free yet, but I was finally clean. By Monday morning, Jenna was blowing up my phone. First came the texts, then the voicemails, then the email that began with, "You blindsided me," and ended with, "Can we talk?" I didn't reply. I had no more use for words. I'd said everything in the envelope. Truthfully, I was expecting more of a performance. A meltdown. Maybe some crocodile tears or an Oscar-worthy apology. But instead, I got radio static wrapped in guilt. Like she knew she'd been caught mid-heist and couldn't figure out how to talk her way out with the jewels in her pocket. She stayed away the first day. I suspect she needed to check in with her boyfriend. Strategize. Spin. But Tuesday, she came home. I heard her car pull up around 4 p.m. My heart didn't race. My fists didn't clench. I just muted the TV and waited. The door creaked open like it knew it was part of a bad script. "Nate," she called out, timid, hopeful. I stayed seated. She stepped into the living room like a deer with a lawyer on retainer. "You're here," she said, like it surprised her. I nodded. "You read everything?" Still nodding. She sat across from me, not beside me. That seat was for wives. "I'm sorry," she said softly, eyes glassy. "I never meant." "You did." She blinked. "You meant to cheat. You meant to lie. You meant to plan a life without me while using mine to fund it," I said calmly. "What you didn't mean was to get caught." She swallowed. Hard. "I just got lost. I wasn't happy, and you had a mouth. You could have used it before you used your body." Silence. Jenna folded her hands in her lap like she was preparing for judgment. She was. "I've already filed," I said, cutting through the quiet. "You'll be served soon." Her lip quivered. "Just like that." "No, not just like that. Like this." I pointed to the box on the table, the one I packed with her keepsakes, framed photos, and a folded scarf that still smelled like Chanel and betrayal. "I don't want to fight," she said. "I want to fix it." I tilted my head. "You can't fix a house you've already burned." "I'm still your wife," she whispered. I stood. "Not anymore. You're just the woman who wore my ring while she tried on someone else." She didn't cry. She knew it wouldn't work. I left her sitting there. The door clicked behind me with the finality of a gavel. That night, I booked a hotel 2 towns over. Nothing fancy. Just clean sheets and a fridge that didn't hum like a broken marriage. I stared at the ceiling for a long time, watching the fan blades spin like thoughts on a loop. I wasn't mourning. I wasn't angry. I was detoxing. 12 years of, "I'm fine." 12 years of, "It's nothing." 12 years of wondering if her phone really did die at 8 p.m. or if I was just the fool with the charger. Now I knew. And knowing has a weight to it. But it also has wings. Wednesday morning, I met with my lawyer, Jenna Taylor. She was as subtle as a sledgehammer and twice as effective. "I have the file," I said, handing her a flash drive. "Proof of infidelity. Financial logs. Screenshots. Photos." Jenna flipped through the contents like she was skimming a menu. "She doesn't know you have all this?" "Oh, she knows. She just doesn't know how much I'm willing to use." Her brow lifted. "You want to play it hard?" "I want clean. No alimony. I keep the house." "She walks." "Done," Jenna said, with a smile sharp enough to slice an affair in half. I left her office feeling lighter. Maybe not healed, but ready. By Friday, Jenna had moved out. She didn't slam doors. She didn't beg. She just packed her bags like someone checking out of a hotel after trashing the minibar. She left a note on the counter. Something about hoping we could heal separately and find peace in the wreckage. I folded it once, then again, and fed it to the garbage disposal. Peace doesn't come from a Hallmark goodbye. It comes from finally closing the door on a room that smelled like lies. A week passed. Then two. Friends started calling. The ones who'd heard whispers. The ones who never really liked her. Funny how honest people get once the curtains fall. My neighbor, Greg, brought me a six-pack and a shrug. Man, I saw her once in that guy's car. I didn't know what to say. You just said it, I replied. He nodded. We cracked open a beer and watched the sun dip behind the fence like it owed us money. I started sleeping again. Real sleep. The kind where you don't dream about strangers touching your wife. I even started running again. Same trails. Different thoughts. At mile 3 one morning, I realized I hadn't thought about Jenna all day. Not in pain. Not in anger. Not even in nostalgia. Just nothing. That's when I knew the healing had started. Not the fake kind. Not the post a quote on Instagram kind. The real kind. The kind that grows slowly. Quietly. Like roots beneath a storm-battered tree. They say when a bomb goes off, the sound reaches you before the dust settles. But what they don't say is that the real noise, the echo, shows up long after the blast. That was my life now, walking through the echo. It had been a month since Jenna moved out. The silence in the house was thicker than noise had ever been. You'd think the absence of yelling, lies, and carefully crafted excuses would feel peaceful. But at first, it just felt empty. I didn't miss her. I missed the idea of her, the version I thought I married, not the one who giggled over someone else's future apartment while pretending to be mine. The house felt bigger now. Not physically, just emotionally. The couch had one imprint instead of two. The bed, cold on one side. The bathroom counter, half as cluttered. Spud, our retriever, walked to the door at 6 p.m. every day like he still expected her to walk in. Eventually, he stopped. Dogs are better at letting go than people. One Saturday afternoon, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. She told me you'd eventually come after me. I didn't think it'd feel like this. No name. Just that. I stared at the message for a moment, then laughed short and dry. I didn't even have to scroll up to know who it was. Zach, the man who thought he'd inherited my life like it was a used car with a full tank. I didn't reply. He messaged again an hour later. My boss put me on leave. You made your point. You happy? Still no reply. Because here's the thing about men like Zach. They only understand consequences when it shows up in khakis and HR memos. Until then, they live in a fantasy where affairs are just spicy side quests. Turns out, his company had a strict ethics clause. Something about inappropriate relationships, especially involving someone's spouse when contracts or client relationships are involved. The email I sent HR? Completely anonymous. Just screenshots. No commentary. Funny how silence does the heavy lifting when the truth is loud enough on its own. By week 6, Jenna reached out again. This time, she skipped the pretense. I made a mistake. I see that now. I didn't answer. Not to be cruel. Just because there wasn't anything left to say. You don't fix a shattered plate by gluing the dust together. You just sweep it up and buy new dishes. 2 days later, she called. Voicemail. Nate. I know I hurt you, but I never stopped loving you. I got caught up in something, and I was stupid. I panicked. Everything was slipping, and he made me feel like I had control, but I didn't. I just want to talk. Please. She sniffled, waited, then hung up. I played the message once, deleted it, then blocked her number. You can't drown proof in sentiment. My lawyer called soon after. She's agreed to the terms, Gina said. No alimony. You keep the house, the retirement account, and the car. Did she push back at all? A little, Gina said, until she realized the alternative was court, and that you weren't bluffing. I thanked her, hung up, and stared at the ceiling. That was it. Divorce final in 10 days. No courtroom drama. No begging. No second act. Just the slow fate of a woman who bet wrong. One night, I was sitting on the back patio, sipping a glass of bourbon, when Greg wandered over with a beer. Can I ask you something? He said. Shoot. Was it worth it? The revenge. I asked. He nodded. I thought for a second. Yeah, but not because it hurt her. Not even because it cost him. It was worth it because it gave me closure. Greg sipped his beer. I didn't get loud, I said. Didn't break anything. Didn't yell in public or burn her stuff. Greg chuckled. But you set her whole future on fire. No, I said, calmly. She lit the match. I just handed her the receipt. Later that week, I found the final piece of closure waiting for me in the mail, a thin envelope from the county clerk. Final decree of divorce. It didn't feel like the end. It felt like a release. I put it in a drawer, didn't even bother to read it twice. Instead, I took Spud for a walk, came home, made a sandwich, and turned on a show that I wanted to watch for once. Halfway through the episode, I caught myself smiling. Not at anything in particular. Just freedom. The absence of lies. The stillness of a house that wasn't holding its breath anymore. It wasn't joy. Not yet. But it was something stronger. It was peace. The weeks that followed were surprisingly quiet. I thought there might be more. One last desperate text, a doorstep plea, some overdramatic monologue about how I'd changed. But nothing came. She was gone. Legally, emotionally, physically. Still, her shadow lingered. At the grocery store, I saw her favorite cereal on sale. I walked past it. At the dog park, someone laughed like she used to, head tilted back, just a little too proud of the joke. And when the neighbor's kid tossed a baseball into my yard and shouted, "Sorry, Mr. Ellis," I almost corrected him Mr. and Mrs. Ellis. But that team no longer existed. She and Zach? Word got out that it didn't last. His job put him on probation pending investigation of professional misconduct. And surprise, his landlord filed for eviction 2 weeks after Jenna's lease mysteriously fell through. Actions have echoes. And sometimes, they bounce back. It came on a rainy Thursday. The kind of day when the sky can't decide whether to cry or scream. I was heading out of the hardware store when I saw her, soaked to the bone, standing by my truck like she belonged there. Jenna. Same coat. Same eyes. None of the shine. "I just want 5 minutes," she said. "Please." I didn't move. But I didn't stop her either. She climbed into the passenger seat. Didn't even shake off the rain. "I'm not here to win you back," she said quietly. "I know that ship burned." I said nothing. "I just needed you to know. I'm sorry. Not because I got caught, but because I didn't have the decency to admit I was already gone. And because you were too good." I finally looked at her. "You didn't ruin my life," I said. "You freed me from a lie." She blinked. "You turned into someone I don't recognize. And I grieved that woman. But now? I don't need answers. I just need distance." She nodded slowly, blinking tears she didn't wipe away. "I hope you find peace, Nate." "I already did." She left without another word. No hug. No begging. Just the rain washing over her like a baptism that came 10 years too late. It's been 6 months. The house feels like mine now. Not ours. Just mine. The walls don't echo with her perfume. The bedroom doesn't carry her scent. Even Spud has adjusted. He trots through the house like it never belonged to anyone else. I replaced the couch, painted the kitchen, burned the old bedsheets in a bonfire that felt more spiritual than petty. I started seeing someone recently. It's slow, honest. She knows the story, not all the details, but enough to understand I'm not building on broken bones. She asked me once, "Do you still hate her?" I thought about it. "No," I said. "Hate's a chain. I cut mine. But sometimes, at night, when the world's quiet and the mind drifts, I remember the garden snake. Silent, patient, lurking beneath the roses. And I remember what it felt like to finally see it and choose not to scream. Just reach for the shovel and dig a new life.